This video is going to be about how I use shade in my garden, even in San Francisco in the fall. Granted, up on the deck here, I mean, it gets pretty warm and it gets the most amount of sun because I'm 2 stories in the air on a deck. So it is kind of cheating a little bit up here. But what I do is I show you some of these areas up here that we're not growing. Then we put a shade cloth up. And then now it's a month. I did that a month ago. So now a month later, I mean, stuff's starting to grow. I've made some decisions on what I shouldn't grow. And I show you the shade gardens downstairs and how well they're doing. So you can use shade in San Francisco, I believe, and I do. I hope you enjoy the video. But some of them, this one's been doing okay recently, but it's lettuce and it just doesn't grow right. It's supposed to be big and fluffy. It's been too long and I probably planted it too early. Here's another one that's by the neighbors, but that's Paris Island romaine. It should be tall. The radishes are bolting without even, they didn't even make a radish and they're bolting. The spinach here is bolting. What is that? So, yeah, it's, So this one, at least the flowers look pretty, right? This one we're gonna put a shade up on and see what happens. But we're gonna shade this one. Shade the one over there with the lettuce. The thyme's doing great. It doesn't need it. I shaded this one. I shaded this one because the crows, for some reason, were either eating worms or they were stealing this stuff for their nest. They were tearing it up every day. And I was trying to make the nasturtium grow, so it's growing okay now. It's coming back. They're not doing the best here. But there was rosemary in here before. One of the rosemaries that I don't really like to cook with, but if it's gonna come back, I'll let it come back. We'll see what happens. But we do have shade here and we are growing. So I ripped out all the stuff that was bolting, or a lot of it. And I put up the shade cloth. I had some success doing this. Last year. So we'll try it again this year and see if anything happens. Okay, so this is about a month later where I put the shade cloth up. Now a lot of these things I didn't save anyway. I mean, they just went right to bolt. Didn't really produce a radish. We have some people back in there that I have some hopes for. We do have some cilantro here. It's getting ready to bolt though. Looks like Swiss chard or something. No, we got some lettuce growing there, so that's cool. And I saved the romaine. So the shade cloth definitely helped. It looks like ghetto, but I'm growing plants, and really what I need to do is find a plant that takes full sun and put right here. I need to quit growing lettuce in this thing. One of the main reasons I need to quit growing lettuce here, look at the green stalk. It's just cranking out lettuce. I mean, we got more lettuce on the green stalk than I normally eat in a year. So that's one thing about growing the vegetables is I've actually started eating vegetables. I think that's helped me a lot, especially after the accident last year. I mean, making pickled veg, I ate more vegetable than I had my entire life probably in last summer. Now here's another one. This one looks like it's starting to bolt, but I mean, I saved some lettuce here. A month ago, it was just little stubs that looked like they were gonna die. So here again, I just need to quit trying to grow lettuce there. I need to get a plant there that accepts the bright light that it gets up here. My last shade cloth, I got nasturtiums under here. They were getting roasted by the sun. I put this out and then they started growing better. There's another one popping up in there. Looks like we got a poppy here. I also planted a poppy. So the poppies can definitely handle the heat. You see them over there, so that'll be cool. And then rosemary actually started popping out. This used to be rosemary in this pot, and I kind of just yanked it out and threw some other stuff in there. So I'll cover that back up. That's the shade cloth gardens as it stands now. Now this is an example of a shade garden. I've had this up since like February. And you know, we got cilantro going here. This plant. But otherwise, if I try and grow cilantro up on my deck, it bolts way too fast. And here we got a lot of parsley. Parsley's starting to bolt. Probably should plant some more. Here's some more parsley. I don't know if the onions are gonna grow well in the shade, but I had a lot of onions. So we also, in the shade garden here, we have some lentils. They like the shade, they like the cooler weather, so we'll see. Last year I grew some over there out in the middle of the sun. So let's see what we can do here. Obviously we got the snow pea crawling up on top. Okay, here's my other shade garden where I just put shade cloth up. Okay, here's some parsley that's growing well, but it's bolting. Parsley's in the family like cilantro, where the flower makes like an umbrella, a bunch of little flowers, and it gives like ladybugs a place to land. It's parsley flowers are beneficial, insect friendly. But even out here in the fog with the shade cloth, the parsley's still bolting. Now, here's a bunch of cilantro. It also had started to bolt. But I just go through and rip all the bolts off. All the pieces that I can tell are gonna be flowering, I just rip those off. Here's another parsley on the back side. Same thing. It's bolting. It's gonna have some real pretty flowers. They're white. We'll just let them go. Here's some dill. Dill, I actually like it when it bolts for the flowers in my pickles. I think the dill flowers almost have more flavor. Although I take the back of the knife and crush up the stem to get all the juice out. This is a lentil beans there. I have another, I guess I'm not watering this enough. The pea it looks terrible, but it's producing pea. So anyway, this is another shade garden that I have here in the garden. Okay, here again, it's early evening, San Francisco. And this is my shade garden. Now, not because I have the shade cloth up. I put this down here because a lot of stuff I grew last year just went off down here, and then the caterpillars came. So I'm trying to keep the butterflies off. So really this is a mosquito net or bug net, but it's in the shade because of the deck. The sun during the morning will come up and slide in between the sliver of our two houses. And so it does get some direct sun, but not a lot. Let's go in there and take a look and I'll show you what we're growing. Okay, pulled back the shade cloth, which technically it doesn't get any sun back there, so I'm using it as a bug netting as well. But we have a lot of radishes here. Look at this. Now, the radishes up on the deck that I tried to save, they all bolted and didn't do anything. But down here in the shade, I think I might be able to grow radishes all year long because it stays pretty cool under the deck too. And here's some thyme that's doing pretty well. I mean, it was down to nothing and I just stuck it in here and ignored it. Basil, threw some basil seeds in here. I know basil can be hard to grow out here, especially in the sunset. And I told somebody that I did shade and they were like, what? I need to see a picture. Well, this is the picture. It's growing good. I think this is a good spot for the basil. The dill has already started growing. It loves the shade. There's some parsley. Now, the parsley in the other shade garden out there has already started bolting. So that's saved there. We got some of the oregano back there. And here we got some cilantro. So any of these plants that bolt real quick in the heat, I've put down here in the shade garden. Time doesn't really matter. The radishes matter, parsley, everything else matters. The oregano doesn't. I think I could pull the oregano out of there. It grows good anywhere. And if you notice, I have the watering tray there. It's a drip pan for a washing machine and it has water in it. So whenever I water up on the deck, we have this corrugated plastic so it doesn't drown the downstairs neighbor and it drips off. I'll catch all of it, but I don't really have to water this because it just comes right up from there and falls, boom, right back there, and it fills up the tray. And then with the felt pots just sitting in that water, I think I kind of want to set them up on a rock and a towel. I'm not sure. I mean, the radishes everything seems to be growing fine, so I'm probably not going to mess with it. But that's the under the deck shade garden.